day and welcome to this NMC regional event, Demystifying Co-Development initiative from the Quebec region. You're looking for development opportunities with other managers, as well as the development of your professional network? Well, here's a great opportunity for you. Today, we will talk about this regional initiative that will entail and the positive benefits for your career. This is an hands-on explanatory session aimed at manager and executive at all levels. My name is Valerie Floyd, and I'm the regional lead for the Quebec and Nunavut region for the national manager community. Please note that our event today will be recorded and a YouTube video link will be made available in the following days. For today's session, don't hesitate to send your question through the chat. You can also add a thumbs up to the question that you are interested in. We ask that you please turn off your camera and microphone for the best experience possible, and to prevent any lags or delays, we encourage you to disconnect from your VPN. Also, if I experiment a technical issue, my colleague Hélène Larose will take over for me as a moderator of this session. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, and the land is the territory of the Great Peace Treaty of 1701, traditional territory of the Moa. I recognize that we all work in different places and therefore on different traditional Indigenous territory. I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on this. For today's session, I would like to introduce you to our guests. Marie-Pierre is passionate about leadership development and works as a strategic advisor at Canada Economic Development for the Quebec regions. She's also a co-development facilitator and one of the two co-development coordinator for the National Community of Managers in the Quebec and Nunavut region. Marie-Josée Laporte has more than 15 years in management at the Canada Revenue Agency. She's currently a regional director in charge of the setting up of a pilot project for the future of work. During all of years at CRA, she has been a participant in co-development groups, and for the past 6 years, she has also facilitated a group. She's also a regional champion for the MG network in the Quebec region, and she's one of the two co-development coordinator for the National Community of Managers in the Quebec and Nunavut region. Together, Marie-Pierre and Marie-Josée will explain to us how co-development is, what co-development is, what is expected from the participant, and what are the benefits. In addition, we have two participants that are currently participating in co-development group, Pierre-Luc and Loyola, who will talk about their own experience and explain the benefits of it for manager in the public service. In a moment, I will turn over to our guests. Then we will have a question period. Note that today's discussion will be in English. The French session was held this morning, and the recording will be available on the NMC YouTube channel in the coming days. Donc, la session française a eu lieu ce matin. L'enregistrement sera disponible sur la chaîne YouTube de la CNG dans les prochains jours. So, we have just put a link to the chat of our co-development website. So you will find a bit more information about the co-development on this website. In order to tell you more about co-development, I would like to invite our panelists, Marie-Pierre and Marie-Josée, to tell us a bit more about it. Hello, Marie-Josée. Hello, Marie-Pierre.
Hello.
Thanks for being here with us today. I would like to start with the first question for Marie-Pierre. Marie-Pierre, let's start with what is co-development? How can you explain to a beginner what is co-development?
Okay, so co-development is a training approach for people who want to learn from each other to improve and consolidate their practice. In a world of constant evolution, I could say in accelerated evolution since the beginning of the pandemic, individuals have often lose sight of who they really are and what they want to accomplish. Learning is often seen as an occasional activity that they engage in outside of normal work to acquire specific knowledge. Co-development is a planned moment, so you have it in your calendar for a whole year in a safe space where you can verbalize a problem. This allows us to feel lighter because when discussing an issue, it allows us to achieve things and thus to see the problem smaller and therefore feel lighter at the end of the session.
Thank you very much. So a moment for us as manager. Thank you. Man Jose, uh, so according to you, what is the composition of a group and how do they work together?
In general, the group are made up to 6 to 12 people because we want to have a sufficient amount of participants to have a good discussion or to have a discussion that will be profitable for everybody. The group meet monthly, virtually, for an average of 3 hours. It may seem long, but the spirit of collaboration and participation ensure that everything passes very quickly. They usually take place over a period of 9 months, from September to June. There's a break during the summer period. This group is accompanied by a resource person, that we can call it as a facilitator, who is responsible for managing the process, reframing intervention if they stray from the topic, and encouraging the use of the steps associated with the co-development method. This promotes learning and development. Co-development groups allow participants to have a place where they can observe themselves in action and where others will tell them what they see. A place where they will be allowed to ask sensitive questions about their situation and where they can help others reflect on theirs. A place where they will not be judged if they feel vulnerable. All participants will be able to benefit from the collective intelligence and wisdom of the group. This approach therefore opens up a whole range of new possibilities. The participants themselves determines his skills to be developed and shares with others the help he needs. There are no expert or apprentice, only individuals sharing expertise and experience. Learning has no limit with the co-development. The group becomes the place where everything is permitted and where everyone makes their contribution and benefits. Confidentiality is a key success factor, and we'll talk about it more in deep a little bit later. As a leader, it is important to know yourself well. One of the traits of a good leader is humility. And one of the best ways to develop these skills is to challenge yourself on a daily basis. It's the best way to learn. Co-development allows, among other things, to get feedback from others when I'm wondering about a situation and when I'm not sure how to act, or whether I could have reacted differently to a situation. Having this source can make a huge difference because during a session, several paths will be proposed to me, some of which I may not have thought of alone, and I can choose the one that suits me the best. Alone, I can always learn, but my learning will soon have a limit. With others, I have the opportunity to broaden my horizons and better understand the environment in which I evolve because I have access to the eyes of others, to their perception of reality. And I then expand mine. I become more aware of how I perceive myself, my power, and my limit. I can more easily decide to act or not to act. I have a better understanding of my situation. Valérie, in summary, co-development is a support group to help us in time where we don't know what to do or see if we could have done otherwise. But it's not a growing or a therapy group. It is a reference group, but it's not a group of tasks. You don't leave the co-development where a list of tasks to do. The person who submits a problem leave with the solution that makes sense to them. Co-development is a support group. It's not a chat dinner. It is a practical knowledge exchange group, including a lot of interaction from everyone. And it's not a conference. You need to have active participation. It's a network, and it's not a problem-solving technique. So I hope it demystify a little bit what it's not and what it is and what it's not.
Thank you, Marie-José. So from what I understood, it's really a safe space when manager can learn about a situation or themselves, which is very precious when you're a manager. And thank you for clarifying what is and what is not co-development as well. Marie-Pierre, uh, well, we talked a bit about co-development and how the groups works, but according to you, what are the objectives of a co-development groups?
The participants in the co-development group share the following objective. They have a desire to learn how to be more effective in their professional practice and to try a new action or path. They force themselves to take time to reflect on their professional practice and to see if their actions are optimal. They are part of a solidary and trusted group to which they belong. The group sticks together throughout the meetings. In addition, since the participants come from several departments, this brings new solutions and new ways of doing things. They let everyone do their own personal process of reflection, choice, decision, and change. Indeed, the person who acts as the client leads with the solution that suits him best in the range that has been proposed to him. They want to learn how to help and be helped as a client and as a consultant. Each role has its learning particularity. We can think of the art of asking question, open-end question, and the art of active listening, but also as not falling into solution too quickly. They also reinforce their desire to learn and have some pleasure learning doing so.
So that's interesting. Those are interesting objective. Marie-Pierre just talked to us about the objective of the co-development, but could you tell us a bit more about the values that frames the co-development sessions?
Yes, there are 4 values that are associated with the co-development. The first one is commitment. Everyone must commit to attend monthly sessions. This allows for enough participation to maximize consultation and create synergy in the group. If not, the conversation won't be as productive. The second one is mutual aids. Mutual aids and peer support of the group are really important. The respect. Exchange must be done with respect for everyone. And the last one, but I think is the most important one, is confidentiality. What's are said in the co-development stays in the co-development and should not go out. Confidentiality is one of the key factors, as well as participants must adhere to it before they can be part of a group. Because if not, it won't be a safe space for a person to expose a situation. They will have some limits, and we won't get all the benefit out of the session.
And that's a good point you're raising about the confidentiality. When we create co-development group, we try to put people from different departments together. So it creates a bit more diversity in terms of perspective and situation, but also creates some confidentiality because people are from different departments. So thank you very much for talking about the values. Marie-Pierre, could you tell us how does the co-development session take place? We have maybe an idea, but how concretely can you describe a session, a co-development session?
Sure. The co-development approach is based on Claude Champagne and André Payette methodology that was established 20 years ago. It's been around in the Quebec province and different organizations for quite some time now. And the steps are always the same. There's 6. The first one is that there's a participant who acts as a client who shares a problem, an issue, or concern that they're experiencing in their professional life. So after that, each member asks clarifying question to ensure that they are fully understanding what the participant need is. Once the need is really understood by all participants, have a consultation mandate, so the client asks what he wants. And then afterwards, the other participant or the consultant, which we referred to, will propose suggestion, possible solution, and share best practices. Then the facilitator summarizes the possible solution and action to be taken. And then the clients will select the one that best fits the situation that they're experiencing. And then they will share their action plan with the group. So the following month, the client from the last session will report on what action he took since the last session to do a follow-up to the group. And at the end of each meeting, as individual, every participant will have a reflection on the learning they've done in the session. So it's noted in a co-development journal. And at the end of the year, people can reflect on all the learning they've done in the different session each month. And the facilitator have a specific training to make sure that the different steps are respected. And in turn, the group acts as either a client by presenting a real situation or as a consultant by helping the clients to enrich his understanding, thinking, and ability to act. So each role leads to learning, either as a consultant where you have new solution, or as a participant where you learn to do active listening and develop your ability to ask open-ended and powerful questions. Co-development meetings require active participation in order to maximize the learning and dare to ask questions and propose solutions.
Marie-Pierre, that's so interesting. So co-development is based on a process that will structure the conversation throughout the sessions. So it kind of guides and frames the participant within a path. So thank you for clarifying this part of the co-development. Marie-Josée, it was mentioned that participants must be open and have desire to learn. Then what is expected from the participant?
The participant need to be willing to talk about a problem and be asked a question. Often we think that to be part of a co-development, we need the situation that will happen once in a lifetime, and it's not really the case. We look at small and big problems, but usually it's a small one that either bother you or you don't really know how to act, and you seek the solution or experience from the group. Another one is accept that others will ask question on how we are doing things because they will want to understand. It's not really because they want to confront us, but they want to understand how we arrive to that that situation, that solution. We need to be self-confident and humble. However, it doesn't mean telling your story, your life story, or putting your guts on the table. We need to be diligent. A participant need to be diligent. He also need to have an active presence and contribute to the discussion. You need to show respect for others. We have mentioned that earlier. You need to respect the confidentiality, and you need to be supportive and open to create a climate of trust. What necessarily implies that absent of aggressive attitude and behavior that are not permitted, and the facilitator will cut it off right at the beginning.
So from what I understood, Marie-Josée, no problem or too small to be discussed in a co-development group, and something that may seem small to you could be something that is very big for another manager. So thank you for bringing that during this conversation. Marie-Pierre, what type of learning can I do if I participate in a co-development group?
You can share what you know, recognize the pitfall of a situation, assess the impact of your practice, get to know yourself a little better and other federal organizations. You can differentiate your impression from the facts. You can ask about other practices. You can be able to understand better your needs and be able to ask for help, which is a big thing for managers. Be more emotionally intelligent and overcome multiple vision of a situation, discover new way to analyze or see something. discover a competent support network, develop new skills that you didn't know you had since you're in another context. You can tap into each other's baggage to become more efficient and agile, and helping others reach their full potential.
Wow, that's quite a long list of learning that you can do through co-development. It's not only knowledge, it can be like emotional intelligence, it can be very different kind of learning, which is amazing. Thank you. Marie-Josée, we talked about all the benefits of everything that you can learn in co-development. So in that context, is this approach appropriated for team lead, supervisor, manager, or executive?
It is, and often we think as a leader that we believe that we are the only one experimenting specific problems or challenges that we do in our jobs. But this approach will help us break isolation because often we have nobody to talk to. You don't want to talk to your employees. You're not sure you want to talk to your colleague, depending on what your relation is with them. And often you don't want to say to your boss that you don't know really what to do. So you might have a little bit of a you might not want to be as transparent to your manager. So there's not really a lot of space where you can talk about your problem. So it could, first of all, it could break isolation. Secondly, participating in the co-development group allows us to realize that we're not alone in experimenting the same management challenges. Since the creation of the interdepartmental group we have found that each organization is experimenting similar situation without necessarily using the same method. And it's really, I've been doing a co-development for a long time, and I'm always amazed to see how the problem are the same regardless of the organization. These meetings allow us, both the client and the consultant, to quickly learn new tools, new vision of the situation that lead us to identify solutions that we would have never thought of. We know as a leader, more than 80% of our work use our ability to communicate. It is also a place to experiment the art of asking powerful questions, listening to what is being said without falling into the solution mode. And it's often what we tend to do to arrive to that solution mode. It is for leaders who are open and want to learn and try new approaches. Leaders who wants to be part of a group network, because as the meeting progresses, the group solidifies. In addition, participants learn to trust the group and take advantage of the diversity of the group. This allows us to compare our practices with those of others. Co-development is open to all people who manage employees, whether are team leaders, managers, executive, but we ask that they have at least 12 months experience or more, to have done at least a complete circle of management. Because it's easier to contribute to the sharing. If not, the people they did not have experiment enough to be able to fully participate. And as a new things, the next new year, this year registration is open to all francophone leaders across the country, and next year it will be open to all francophone and anglophone leaders from across the country, but it's open to all participants in the Quebec region, regardless if they're French or English.
Well, Marie-Josée, you raised such a good point. This approach really breaks the silos. And often we think that we are stuck with a problem that is very specific to our team, but unfortunately, other manager may be stuck with the same difficulty or challenge, and together we can help one another to overcome difficulties. So I really like this thing about the co-development. But we talked a lot about like the positive aspect of the co-development. But Marie-Pierre, in what context this approach or is this approach is not optimal for a leader?
So I guess I'll be the bad guy now. Well, we asked that manager have at least 12 months of experience. So as a manager, if you change a job, it doesn't matter. But as supervising employees, because we make groups that are similar, so we need that kind of baseline. And we also don't use co-development in urgent situation. You have something that's really really urgent, and then the monthly session is in 2 weeks. Well, it won't fit to your needs, so it's not made to be as a crisis mode. And sometimes the structure of the post can be a problem for some people. But I would say that the thing that I'm most concerned about is openness. We need participants who are willing to learn and put themselves into question and open to that. So that's what I would answer to that question.
Okay, so we should look into those recommendations and see if it fits our situation. Thank you to the both of you guys. And I think Marie-Josée and Marie-Pierre, on a more personal note, you would like to share your own experience with the co-development.
Yeah, I'll start. I decided to join the coordination and facilitating of co-development since I knew the approach for quite some time, and I wanted to get involved because I know what a difference it make on an experiential basis for managers who feel isolated, and I wanted to contribute to that with my facilitator skills. So, and I do see the difference. I had just had my last session this week, and the whole group was just so sad to have the summer coming because they wouldn't speak to each other for like until September, and they grew a lot together this year again.
On my part, I'm a person who loves learning. And when I started as a team leader in 2007, right at the start, I started the co-development group, and it's really I had a lot of I've seen a lot of benefit out of it. First of all, it's a way to discuss issues in a safe space. Really, like I said at the beginning, we don't have a lot of safe space as leaders to be able to express ourselves in front of others. It's being able to benefit from the experience of others, because we have all different teams that experience all different situations, so it's a good way to learn from what others went through. It's also an opportunity to speak with people outside of my work areas or organization. Often, one does not hesitate to be weak in front of others. And I can learn from other sectors and other organizations. It's allowed me also to learn more about like I said, my organization and others. It's also a way to taking a step back from a situation. Often we so in the problem that we don't take the time to take that step back. It's also a way that I've learned a lot to listen more, because I have a couple of time employees that came to my office and I was already in a solution mode, but the only thing they needed to have is a way to express a problem. And when you ask a question to an employee, what do you expect from me? And after maybe a 30 minutes meeting, he's telling you, I just wanted you to know, and you have said 3-4 solution to him, you know that you're not exactly on the same space, the same pace, or at the same place. So it was an eye opening for me in order to take that space. And on another note, because I'm also a facilitator in the co-development group, I find that I'm learning as much as a coach that I am learning as a participant. Management is about managing people. There are so many ways to do things, and there are so many leaders. I always learn new approaches. In addition, management is not anything static. So we need to have our leadership need to evolve in time, because we are with different employees with different needs. It's also allowed me to see leaders grow throughout the meetings and share some of my personal experiences. And I also gave me an extra challenge in the last 6 years, because I did it in my second language. So I was able to practice my second language on top of managing or by facilitating a group.
Thank you so much, Marie-Josée, Marie-Pierre, for your explanation and also your testimony on the co-development. And speaking of testimonials, we will now discuss with Loyala and Pierre-Luc, two current co-development participants who will share their experience with us.
So hi everyone. My name is Loyala Susai Pillai. I'm a manager at the Quebec Regional Contact Center. It is an honor for me to be here today and share my experience with you about the co-development. My testimonial will have two parts, one as a participant and one as a facilitator coach. When I started my career in management, it was in 2009, and I was a shy, reserved, a little empathetic, and I was not aware of my emotional intelligence. The co-development program has largely contributed to improving my character traits and positively impacted my career. You wonder how? Well, it is by sharing my challenges with the group as a client, and I was open to their advice, that of my coach and of colleagues, and I learned from these sessions. I still remember the first case that I brought to the co-development. I was facing an employee who was not taking calls. He was not working. And for me, that was unacceptable behavior, and I wanted to fire that person right away. By bringing this case to my development group, they made me realize that, well, you have to go beyond the symptoms. You can't just take action with the symptoms. You have to find the possible causes. So that made me, think. And and I also understood that our discipline system was that one of correction and not punishment. I came out of each session more knowledgeable and informed. My time was well invested. The meetings provided networking opportunities. The advice of coaches and colleagues was rich and varied. Each time I was a client, I received practical recommendations that were tailored to my needs. The group acted also as an engine that propelled me into action. Let me explain. What I mean by that is when you are a client, you have to follow up on the situation or the solution you chose, right, that you're going to act on in the following session. So I had that motivation that, okay, I have to come back to my group and explain what I actually did. So I did hold the difficult conversation that I didn't feel like having with whether it's with my colleagues or a superior that I was having issues with. And so it's like going to the gym with a buddy, right? So the co-development propelled me into this, taking action. With my participation in various groups over time, whether it's local and or interministerial, I have grown as a manager and I'm proud of who I am today. This progress was made possible thanks to the co-development program. I was like a caterpillar in a cocoon, and now I feel like a butterfly freely flying. Did you know that scientific research suggests that leadership is 30% genetic and 70% learned? These results suggest that leaders are made, not born. Ultimately, the answer is that both are true. A person can be born with natural leadership abilities, and someone can learn to be a good leader on the job. So, co development definitely helps. And now, as a facilitator coach, well, with the experience that I gained over the years as a participant, I was now ready to coach these sessions and give back. So, I seized an opportunity that presented to me last year. I had an excellent group. We succeeded together in building a climate of trust, a safe space for sharing in complete confidentiality and without judgment. I even had the opportunity to act as a client in order to demonstrate my vulnerability to the group and get the ball rolling on that. In conclusion, I'd like to say that a good leader must show humility and continue to invest in their learning and be updated. Thank you for your attention. I now give the floor to my colleague, Pierre-Luc.
Thank you, Loyala. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pierre-Luc Noël. I'm a manager at the Canada Revenue Agency in the audit department. I joined the wonderful world of management in January 2015. Back then, I had already 12 years of experience in operations. At this point of my career, I was very comfortable doing my job. I knew every aspect of it. and I think I was a pretty decent employee. The opportunity to become a team leader suddenly arrived just before the holiday season. I didn't have much time to think about it, so I accepted the challenge, not knowing what I was getting into. Probably because I was young and naive, I believed at that time that, like in operations, I would have a proper training path. As you probably all know, unfortunately, this is not the case. So I had to learn on the job. At first, I tried to find a mentor, but at that time, it was not necessarily a widespread practice. Therefore, over a month, I fully lived the experience of being a team leader with all the challenges associated with it. As a new team leader, I didn't want to constantly disturb my colleagues with a bunch of questions, so I spent the entire years asking myself the following questions. Am I the only one experiencing this? Is it my management style that caused this? Is my approach the right one? Who should I contact? These questions remained unanswered for a while. At about the same time, I heard about co-development. Without a doubt, I joined my first group as a participant in 2016. In this group, I met other team leaders from different departments and who had diverse experience. I'll be completely honest with you. In the first session, I asked myself, what am I doing here? I felt a bit lost and suffered from imposter syndrome, being among all the other participants. In my mind, I had experienced enough things as a team leader, and my problems were not important enough to discuss. I thought that people would judge. This feeling quickly disappeared as I attended more meetings. In addition to that, I immediately realized that a co-development sessions take place in a judgment-free environment, and above all, that all the team leaders in the group were facing the same challenges as me. Moreover, I felt that I was not alone and I wanted to actively participate in the discussions. Co-development is a safe place where, as a participant, I had the opportunity to share my experience with others. It was not like a training. I brought ideas and felt like I was part of the solution. I attended co-developments for 3 years as a participant. The sessions gave me a huge boost of self-confidence and put me in a completely different mindset with my team. I felt listened to and understood. In addition, with the co-developments, I had the opportunity to create a network, which would have been more difficult to create without these sessions. For most of the participants, we exchanged contact information. I also had one-on-one discussion with some of the participants. Some of these participants are still part of my network today, even more than 7 years later. In 2019, I was promoted to second level manager. Therefore, I put the co-development on hold to deal with my new challenges. However, after 2 years as a manager, I was approached to lead a co-development group for first level managers. Given my experience as a participant, I immediately accepted. My experience as a facilitator is just as rewarding as when I was a participant. Indeed, each client brings their own color, touch, and experience to a problem. Each person reacts differently to a situation, and it is very enlightening for me to hear and experience these issues with them. Sharing is the most important word I would say to describe a co-development. A relationship of trust has been building between me and my group throughout the year. That is one of the most important aspects of the co-development, to make sure that the participants feel safe and trusted so that they can talk about anything they want in total confidence. My participation as the leader of a group led me to develop another aspect of my personality, which is attentive listening. Furthermore, co-developments encourage participants to bring their point of view and try to provide possible solutions. The host listens and manages the flow of the discussion but doesn't intervene or control it. In conclusion, I would say try it at least once in your career. I guarantee you, you won't regret it. You won't regret it. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks to the both of you guys for this exceptional testimony. I hope you have convinced our participants to register. Moreover, dear participant, if you wish to register to the fall 2022 cohort, we have provided you with the registration link into the chat, which is now available. We will now turn it over to you, our participant, who might have questions as well. I encourage you to ask them in the chat space right now. So we're waiting for your questions. So we're going to start with a first one, actually, a question that I have that I would like to address to Marie-Josée. Marie-Josée, we often hear about peer coaching versus co-development. Can you explain the difference between the two?
Sorry, sorry, I'm always on mute. Co-development is you bring a situation at the table and everybody's trying to help you solve your issues or help you to address that issue. Peer coaching is a little bit more a group discussion on a specific subject. So it's really limited to that subject. You cannot bring anything outside of it, but you'll be able to share on that specific subject. So it's really two ways of learning that are different. But it's all depend on what's your learning mode or your learning style and what you want to get out of it. But I would say that the co-development is a little more diverse because you never know in each one which you will learn.
Amazing. That sounds very interesting. So sometimes we meet manager and they're very lucky because they have no specific issue with any of their member of their team. So if that happened, Marie-Pierre, is co-development really for that person?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, Valerie?
Yes. So, for example, if I personally have no specific issues with any of my team members, is co-development really for me then?
Well, yes, because the issue doesn't need to be big. It can be on a problem, something in your environment or yourself. Sometimes we have issues in our work environment or even in our personal life that keep coming back, or we have something that we're a little uncomfortable with. Well, that discomfort can be a subject of co-development because you can explore and ask the other participant to understand what there's beneath that discomfort and have solution that goes with it to be more comfortable or act on something that you've been postponing for quite some time. So that's what I would say to your question.
Thank you. So participants, feel free to use the chat and write us your questions if you have any. We'll continue with the question period. Well, Pierre-Luc, I was wondering, based on your own experience as a participant and as a facilitator, do I need any training or knowledge in order to participate to a co-development session? Pierre-Luc, are you with us? Maybe we have
that Pierre-Luc has a problem. Maybe
okay.
Loyola
can you answer this question?
Yes, definitely. So we were wondering if the participant needed training. Is that it?
Yes, exactly. Okay. In order to participate or any specific knowledge.
Okay. No specific knowledge or training other than the 12-month we mentioned, right? That is experience so that you know what you're bringing to the table, have a little context to the situation as a manager or a team leader. Other than that, no specific training is required. So that's the good news.
Super easy. So you just bring yourself. How easy is that? Okay, so again, I encourage you participants to send us your question through the chat. I have another question that I would like to ask Marie-Josée. Marie-Josée, what happened if I don't think I can attend all the session, not each month, but once a month, but all the session through the year? What happened?
We can understand if you have an emergency once, but we think that people should be present most of the time because the group the cohesion of the group will be impacted if people are not present, because the group will evolve, and then you won't evolve at the same time as the group. So you will be phased out with the group at a specific time. So we recommend that you attend the session of the co-development. Secondly, they should be part of your schedule. So they are planned. That's a moment for you to be able to invest in your development. Another thing that we did not mention is when you want to be part of a co-development group, we'll ask that you have a discussion with your managers. So your managers is aware that you are part of a co-development group and you have engaged in that that way of learning, and you'll be aware that you won't be available 3 hours per month. That's not a lot, 3 hours. And I would maybe conclude, Valérie, by saying, when you say yes to the organization, what do you say no to? And I'm not saying that I need an answer, but so often we put ourselves in second, and there will be always work to do. So if we don't place ourselves in the center once in a while, we'll be the one that will not benefit from it.
I thought that was so interesting that you mentioned that we often put ourselves second, but I think as manager, we often put ourselves last. So that's definitely a moment for ourselves to reflect on difficult situation and on ourselves as well. Marie-Josée, I had a little extra question for you, and you just kind of answer it through your previous response. Does my manager have to approve my participation to the co-development group?
Yes, they do have, because we want to make sure that you will have that conversation with your managers to see because you'll have to establish your goal, your learning goal, and you usually establish it with your managers because you want to perform something or you want to develop something. So that encourage the discussion, because often we know that discussion only happen during the evaluation period, but we want to make sure that conversation happen at the beginning of the co-development session. And it's really good, like Marie-Pierre said, that you can, with the co-development journal, you'll be able to see all your progression throughout the year, and it will encourage you to have that discussion at the end or at the beginning of the following year with your managers to see your progress. And your goal can evolve in time, because you might start with a goal at the beginning of the year, and that so often we think that we have a problem or we have something we want to work on, but it's at the surface. And if we go deeper and deeper, there might be something else. So that need might evolve in the time. So we encourage you to have a constant discussion with your manager. It's why we just want to make sure that you do have that discussion. So it's why we ask that you sign the agreement with your manager.
Okay, perfect. And it's always easier when you have the support of your manager as well for those kind of initiative, obviously. Marie-Pierre, we talked a bit about the fact that ideally a supervisor, a team leader, or a manager, whatever it is, would have a minimum 12-month experience in order to join the group. So what happens if I do not have enough experience as a team leader to participate in a co-development? And if so, if there's a minimum to register, what are my other possibilities?
Well, I would say to contact myself or Marie-Josée for a specific case, because this is the guideline we have, 12 months of experience, because we try to have similar profiles of participants. So that's our minimum. But we know that sometimes life is not linear, so we can have some flexibility over that. If you have a specific case, we'll be open to take that into account.
Okay. And at the end of the session, we will put Marie-Pierre and Marie-José's email address. So feel free to reach out directly to them if you have questions or if you'd like to have some clarification about your own situation. And again, I invite you, people, participants, to write down your question into the chat. I think we may have lost Pierre-Luc, unfortunately, maybe due to some technical issue, but we will continue the question period with Loyola. Loyola, is there any added value in being part of the same co-development group from years to years?
Yes, thank you for the question, Valerie. So, and yes, there is a, how can I say, um, advantage or a benefit to being in the same group over the years. You get to know each other, right? You have a coach a coach that can follow you as actually, and it's a group. It's like we said, there's a networking, right, that happens, and when we are in a situation, yes, there's a summer break, but we can always connect to each other. That's where the relationships are built. It's more than a group, it becomes a team. It's a team that will support you in your development throughout your career if you choose to. So being in that same team and group will definitely be an added value. That's how I see it.
Amazing. And
Thank you.
just so you guys know, we had a French question during the French session, and it was about the costs. All those sessions and this whole initiative is free. There's no cost associated with it. We take care of everything administrative. When you join a group, it's free for the whole year. Just in case sometime we're looking for things for our PMAs and we don't have a lot of money. So co-development is a very good approach or a very good thing to put into your PME. So we're gonna continue with
Maybe
oui.
Valérie, I would add, we
Sure.
have different, Marie-Pierre was saying that we have different groups, and we try to put the first level managers all together, the second one, and we have the cadre supérieur, the executive group also this year. So depending on where you stand, you will be with similar people in your groups.
And that is important too, because the challenges you will face as a supervisor, team leader, won't be the same when you are a assistant director or an executive. So that's something that is very important to mention. You will be placed and put with people that are kind of living the same challenges as you are at your level. Thank you for the clarification. Marie-Pierre, you wanted to add something?
Yes, we're actually trying to have a mix of different organizations. So we have same level but different department. And since now it's not online, we can also reach out to all the people working in regions in the Quebec region and furthermore in the rest of Canada later on. But that's a real advantage because before the pandemic, co-development was mainly done in person. So people from the region were disadvantaged by that.
Amazing. We have a question into the chat, so we're gonna go answer that question from the participant. Thank you for sending this question, by the way, we appreciate it. Here, when will be the next cohort co-development group opportunity? Can we participate if we have been acting manager for more than 12 months? Thank you. So somebody would like to take this question?
I can go. We don't look if you're permanent in the position or you're acting. As long as you have experience and you can share that experience in your group, you're more than welcome to join a group. And with in the chat, you'll see the link for the registration. The registration is open as of now, but the next group will start in September.
Excellent. Thank you. If you have more questions, use the chat, please, to send them to our panelists. We're going to continue with the next question. Loyola, I'd like to ask you this question because you have the experience as a client. So when you are a client, does it require a lot of preparation or time preparation? And what preparation should be done before each meeting?
Thank you for the question. There is document of reference, right? For a client, you have, how can I say, you can write down and it will help you prepare to be a client. but you don't have to use it, right? It's optional. So what would be important is to advise your coach of the situation that you're going to be presenting. And then the next thing is bring yourself to the table. And usually the situation is emotional, so it's personal. And this is where you will benefit from the session as being a client. I know it's a short answer, but hopefully it covers.
And less is more, apparently. So thank you, Laura. From what I'm hearing, this is not a lot of preparation. You don't need to spend your whole week. This is not a university homework, which is perfect for managers that often have a very busy schedule. Well, it's already 2:25. That's pretty much all the time we have for the session today. If you have a question that pops into your mind after the session, or maybe that has not been answered, or that you would like to ask privately to our panelists, feel free to email us directly, and the email address has been put already into the chat box. You can reach out directly to Marie-Pierre and Marie-Josée at their personal email address. I would like also to thank all the participants that has joined us today. Also thanks to all our guests for taking the time to talk about the co-development. And finally, thanks to my NMC colleagues for supporting this event. More information on our GC Connect page. Please stay connected with us for more information on our event. We will put all the link to get in touch with us in the chat box. Your comments are also very important to us, so we invite you to complete our evaluation questionnaire. The link will be put into the chat, and an email will be sent to you with resources at the end of this session. Have a nice day and see you next time. Bye-bye.